Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Today I'm going to be showing 3 different ways of drawing a happy chibi face. Now I've taken a drawing that I made, scanned into my computer, and printed it out side by side so that we can draw the 3 different facial expressions. And I'm going to begin by zooming in on this first one, and let's just go ahead and get into it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is draw at first a kind of, I would say, moderately happy face. Let's say she's not going to look ecstatically happy, just sort of contented. And I'm putting down a couple of guidelines. You can see that the eyes of a chibi are generally quite large and quite low on the head from top to bottom. So I'm putting in these guidelines fairly low. This actually might be a little too low here. I'm going to, on the fly, going to revise my the eye size for this one here. And let's go ahead and start working on drawing the eyes. Now for this one, I'm going to have the eyes open, and I'm going to be drawing a fairly conventional looking chibi female eye. And I'd say the key thing to look out for when you're trying to draw chibi eyes like this is to maintain this space between the 2 eyes. In fact, before drawing this eye, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to skip a lot of space, and I'm going to draw the other eye way over here. So as to make sure that I've got enough space. You know, sometimes people have trouble drawing the other eye, right? They'll say, I can draw the first eye, but I can't draw the other eye. Most artists don't draw one eye at a time. You know, they'll draw the 2 different eyes kind of simultaneously. Like do the upper eyelash first on both sides. Then I'm going to move on to drawing the iris as a big oval, which I think is quite common for chibi characters. Although this is really going to be the only version in which we see the iris plainly. The other 2, the happiness is sort of causing the eyes to squint shut in 2 different ways. And my goal here, in a way, is to show that there's not just one way of conveying chibi emotion. And indeed, there's probably way more than just 3, but I thought it would be interesting. I'm adding highlights here that's going to make these eyes appear shiny later on. You can see that the original drawing was inked, and I'll probably be inking this later on as well, but for now we'll just leave it in pencil with my trusty Dixon Ticonderoga. And I'm just going to skip the nose altogether. In fact, none of these chibi characters are going to have noses. They just can't afford them. They gotta save a little more money to buy a nose. No, actually, with a lot of chibi characters, they skip the nose. My theory is that the nose does not convey emotion. It doesn't really play a role in conveying emotion, so you just sort of eliminate the nose. Also makes the character look more youthful, because, you know, like babies, generally speaking, the nose is not very pronounced. And as you get older, you know, the bridge of the nose becomes more clear on the face, and just basically the more emphasis you put on a nose in a drawing, the older the character looks. Now I'm putting these eyebrows quite high, might even be a little too high, but this is also, you know, the eyebrows play a big role in emotions, and by having them up high on the head, we get this kind of carefree look. The more the eyebrows close down tightly near the tops of the eyes, or the upper eyelash line, the more concerned or stressed or even angry a character will look. So that's why I put it. But I am starting to feel like this one might be a little too high. This is the day of redrawing things. Krill Dog, get it right the first time. So just make a slight adjustment on that one. And that is basically it. Later on I'll probably add some blushies. You know me, always like to add the blushies. But you can see the importance of getting that gap, the space in between the 2 eyes. Now helpfully, the 2 drawings are within the frame, and I can just move on now to drawing the second facial expression. But I think what I'll do is ink this real quick in time-lapse. So as to make sure that you can see it, you know, make it fit in with the rest of these lines. Give me just a moment here. All right, so there you see the smile itself is not a super smiley smile. It's just a very gentle curve. And in general, we're going for, by Chibi standards, a degree of subtlety, I would say, in this drawing. But now it's time to move on to something where she's going to look even happier. And I'm going to begin with just one line going right across from ear to ear, maybe the middle of each ear. And this is where I'm going to have the eyes sort of squinted shut in these gentle curves, which I suppose are just the upper eyelashes. Again, leaving space between the two of them, making sure that you leave some space there. Give them some breathing room. Don't get them too tightly packed together. And notice that the outer edge of each line is a little thicker. I think that's a common way of showing that it's meant to have eyelashes. And then over here you saw these sort of folds of the upper eyelid drawn in this way. Over here I'm going to actually extend those lines all the way across and have them kind of touch the inner corner of each eye. And I think it's going to be interesting to compare the changing facial expression from the eyes being open to the eyes being squinted shut. In general, I think when you make the eyes squinted shut, the character looks even happier. In fact, some people may look at these three drawings and see a progression of like slightly happy to very happy to outlandishly happy in the final one. And indeed, what I'm going to do in drawing this mouth is instead of having just a simple curved line down here, I'm going to go ahead and make a classic open chibi mouth that is sort of a little bit like a U shape, I suppose, except I'm leaving a little gap at the bottom. I noticed some artists doing this when drawing a happy chibi mouth. Just they sort of let that line breathe a little at the bottom. And that is basically it. You know, I think I dropped the eyebrows down maybe just a little lower here just because the eyes are shut, right? And if I'd put the eyebrows where they were here, you'd end up with quite a huge gap there. So I made a little adjustment on the fly there. Let's go ahead and ink this in, and then we can move on to the final version. All right, so with this last one, we are going to throw caution to the wind and go super cartoony. And it is really a variation on this idea of having the eyes squinted shut, but in this case, we're actually turning them into almost like symbols of eyes. Sometimes when you're really going all out chibi, you leave reality behind and you start going for to me, they're almost like icons or, as I said, symbols of eyes that are squinted shut. You get away from the anatomy, and to me, it's when you draw eyes like this, and they really are like literally upside down letter U's. To me, it's like a blinking neon sign that says happy, happy. This character is happy. Of course, it is the combination of the mouth with the eyes that really completes that feeling of happiness. And this time I'm going to go for a slightly different type of chibi mouth. This one was sort of narrow from side to side. This time I'm going to go for more of a wide sort of letter D, I suppose, kind of a look with just a little bit of curving up at the end to show the mouth is open. And this time let's try adding a line for the teeth and then a suggestion of the tongue, which I think we'll be shading in later on, probably coloring in this entire thing. But there you see, definitely big time happiness when you make the eyes like this. And for the eyebrows, and I think we had very gentle curves here. I'm going to try going for a little more of a pronounced curve with these. I don't want them to come down too much in the middle, but I think by giving it just a little more of a curve, it will fit with this exaggerated upside down letter U shape there. And there you go. That is my third and final version of Chibi Happiness. Let me go ahead and ink this in. I'm going to pull back, and then we're going to add some color, probably all in time-lapse. Definitely all in time-lapse, and then we'll be back with a few final words. Alright, so there you go, all 3 different ways of drawing Chibi happiness. It almost looks like a progression, doesn't it? She's getting increasingly happier, but it also is a progression of cartooniness, really, because this one is a little closer to human anatomy, and this is getting more and more into the realm of exaggerated cartooning. But of course, this video can't be over until I add the blushies. I mean, how could you even consider it a finished drawing without blushies? Outrageous, the very idea. What's with the terrible English accent? Ugh, I'm losing my mind. Let's get these last little blushies in place, and then I can go grab my books so that I can say thank you to anyone who has supported me by getting them, like Mastering Manga 1 and 2. Just wanted to say on a personal note, some of you may have heard that the publisher, Impact, of Mastering Manga sadly went out of business a couple of months back. Well, I'm pleased to say that Random House, the publisher, Penguin Random House, has bought their back catalog and is going to be keeping these books in print. So many thanks to those of you who choose to support me by getting any of them, like Mastering Manga 1 and 2, or the Chibi book, indeed a book that is devoted 100% to the topic you saw today. But I do think it is time for me to lay down this blushy pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.